Welcome back to the No Small Talk podcast. I'm your host, Simone, and today we're kicking off season 2, and I'm overjoyed to be joined by my dear friend, Hannah.
Woo! Hey, everybody.
Hey, Hannah, all the way up in Petoskey.
I know. We were just talking about how our friendship is a 10-year-old. This is crazy.
It's wild. It really is. Like, wow, I can't believe this. But as many of you remember, like in the season 1 finale, I had a conversation with my friend Sydney, who I met 10 years ago during our study abroad program in Rome. And that is the same place where I connected with Hannah. So honestly, it's like, this is one of my most cherished and closest and dearest friends.
You make me cry.
Oh, I'm just very grateful that
you're cutting the onions over there.
Cut those onions. It's okay. But honestly, like at this point, we're family, and I think anyone who like really knows me knows that I refer to this group of people as my Rome family. So from this point on, if I refer to anyone as Rome family, just know it's like I met them during my study abroad, because we're gonna have a couple more Rome familia that will be joining this season.
So excited. That's
isn't
awesome.
it? I think I'm like, I don't want to spoil alert, but it like we're definitely gonna have some more Rome family on here. But when I realized how I wanted to begin season 2, there was only one person that I knew that I needed to have this conversation with. So when we were students in Rome, we had to keep a florilegium. You remember that?
Yeah, I think it's somewhere. I think it's on my TV stand right now, actually. I should go find it.
Yeah, I still have, but I think I have it on my bookshelf because it's something like, obviously I don't look at it all the time, but it's like fun to reflect on. And a florilegium, for anyone who doesn't know, there's many definitions, but one of the definitions can be a book of literary flowers. So beautiful words, often centering on a certain theme or topic. So we were encouraged to keep one when we were in Rome by our like art and architecture and like poetics professor, who was like, as you come across different terms, as you come across different words that really stand out to you, phrases, new concepts, like record them and write your impressions. So in the last episode, I highlighted the Italian phrase il dolce far niente, or the sweetness of doing nothing. And this phrase was really the beginning of my awareness of my survival mode tendencies and the shift towards true rest. But there was a Latin phrase we encountered that I think had a similar impact on you, Hannah.
It did. I use it every day. I start every class, every new year with my students with this phrase.
Oof. Can you please share this phrase, its meaning, its initial impact on you? Can you unpack it for me?
Yes, it is Latin. It is Semper Incipit, which means always begin. And there's lots of different ways that you can look at it. One way is just beginning each moment with the spirit of a new beginning. So every step you take, every breath you take, which sounds like a song from the Police, but it's true. Every day is a new day. Every class is a new class. Always a new opportunity to begin, or to begin again. So I carry that with me everywhere. I remember something about pine cones on the first day, but I'm pretty positive that was one of the very first things that we learned in there. I'm actually like pulling out I just found it right here. It says, "And so the adventure begins" is the title of my Rome journal. I bet it's in one of these first phrases. And and have you realized or like noticed how I don't know if you follow on social media, but there's this huge trend and push right now that like we're going back to 2016, and like in 2016. So I was actually on one of my other podcasts that I do for my English resources with another friend of mine, and we were talking about this new year, and I was telling her about Semper Incipit, and then we were just thinking about how, there's this spirit and this energy going around that people want to go back to who they were or reflect on who they were in 2016. And I just think that that's really powerful, and it fits back into our podcast right now. So
it really does, because that was such an interesting time. I feel like there was a lot happening in the world, but also just a lot happening like collectively in the world, like with growth, with who we were. Like that was such a I could probably unpack that for days. So I'm not even gonna get I see it. I remember this journal.
30th, 2016. From there we went to our first class and met Dr. Kano, who seems like a pretty stand-up guy. I'm reading to you from my diary.
Read the entry, girl.
First lesson, Semper Incipit, a Latin maxim meaning always begin with the spirit of a new day. The end of everything we do is the beginning of something great, something truly extraordinary.
Wow.
The end. Or the beginning.
Or the beginning. Yes. I'm like, I wish I would have thought to even bring mine anyway, but like
well, I didn't even think about it until you just said it, and then I was like, mine is definitely
right there.
Like maybe 6 feet away from me right now. I gotta go find this. Show and tell time.
Yes. Sure. So like recently I did, and I think I sent this to you like a while ago, but it was like a 7-day devotional through like the Bible app. And it was entitled Always We Begin Again. And like this concept of always begin really hit me. Like again, it just brought it to my remembrance. Okay, so I just went and found my Florilegium. So my phrase when I wrote it down of the always begin. So every day is a new day. We should always have a spirit of beginning. This phrase reminds me of today is a new day. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. It serves as a reminder to begin each day, or perhaps even parts of the day, with a renewed mind and a fresh perspective. To not let the last day or even previous moments impede your progress or optimism. Very helpful when embarking on a journey of studying abroad and looking at each step forward, each new discovery, and each new experience as the beginning of something wonderful. And that was on October 3rd of 2016. That's your birthday. Yours is the 2nd.
Yeah.
Okay. It's right after your birthday.
I was looking at mine. Yeah, mine was September 30th. Yeah, so like I don't know, but it hits you like whenever it hits you. We're really going down memory lane now with our journals.
It just means you were on top of your assignment. I didn't start mine.
I'm not reading this, baby.
That was my first entry. Like it was legit my first entry. So I'm like, wow. I started it late because I was not even thinking.
No, listen. You begin when you're supposed to begin, like, and you're always beginning. So there's no like timeline of when you're supposed to start and all that.
I fully wholeheartedly agree with that, especially because some people are rushing and doing this all at the very last 3 days of class. You remember?
Well, I was looking at mine, and like my sister gave this to me. Like she gave this as a present to me at the airport, and so she like wrote a little inscription in the front, and she said, "You won't regret capturing the details of every day. Give every moment to the fullest. Take it all in." So I started this before we even knew about the assignment. Like I just wanted to journal because she gave this to me, and she was absolutely right. I wouldn't trade this for anything. I think if my apartment was on fire and I could go save one thing, it would probably be this.
I feel the same way. I still have my journal. Clearly, it was right in arm's reach on my bookshelf because I refresh my bookshelf consistently. Like I will remove books that I've read, put new ones that I'm trying to read. So like the fact that this has stayed consistent, that it's there, I'm like, wow. And I don't look at it all the time, but it's there.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Mine has traveled with me to, when I lived in Arizona, when I lived in Florida, like all of my moves, this has come with me. It can't stay like in storage.
So when they're like in Subiaco, which was really like our first excursion in Italy. It was a day trip, and there we explored the shrine of the sacred cave of Saint Benedict. And while he's remembered for various things, such as his motto of ora et labora, like prayer and work, defense against demonic attacks, fleeing temptation, and charisms such as like hospitality, moderation, respect, community service, and prayer. So really admire Saint Benedict. I feel like those are things I super like core values of mine. So I think I really initially super connected to him at the beginning of this trip. But one of the things I think he's most famously known for is like the rule of Saint Benedict. Like he has a book that really details his, it's like a blueprint for monastic life, of prayer, work, and community. And it's really just helpful for, I think, anyone seeking to deepen their faith or to be more disciplined in their spiritual life. And there's like a line from this book that was in this devotional that I read that was entitled like Always We Begin Again, in the Bible app. It's like a 7-day devotional. I will share the link or the name below, like in the description. But in that devotional, there's like a line from it, from his book, and it was really highlighted of like the Always We Begin Again. And Benedict's rule for the monks was called out. Benedict's rule for monks was kind of known, or one of them was kind of known as the holiness of repetition. And it acknowledged like the primacy of God and looks for God in the ordinary events of each day. So giving a certain grace to the beginnings of each day. So most days, and I think in a sense, like life overall is simply just one beginning after another. Mm-hmm. And it's like learning how again, over and over. And it can sometimes feel mundane. It can sometimes even feel meaningless at times and frustrating at others. But the eternal optimist deep inside of me often chooses to see the beauty and the hope in this, like in this concept of like every day being a gift, brand new, and that God's mercies are new each day. Which means that like every morning he extends his love and mercy to us because his love for us is greater than our sin. God's mercies are continual. They are constant despite us feeling like we need to earn them. And God's mercies are dependent on him and not on us. So when I think about this Latin phrase, it's like so old, it just means like always, like we begin, like always begin. It just, yeah, I think that's what it makes me think of. And that was really the perfect way, I think, to start our trip in Subiaco, and kind of like meditating on this fact of like a new beginning. And even just the fact that it was the beginning of so many beautiful friendships. I'm like, I'm still like kind of in awe of that, I think.
Yeah, me too. I remember like little pieces of that too, like of going up to just, I think it wasn't a statue or something, or like, oh, the monastery of Saint Benedict. Yeah. And there was a statue inside the monastery that was in the mountains. Mm-hmm. But what I remember most is like trying to pay attention, but also being super, super jet lagged and like feeling like I was in the middle of a movie. Yeah. And again, like, so just following along with everything you've said, like, and echoing all of that with beginning everything and feeling like you're a duck trying to like walk backwards on a pond or something. And it's okay because you're all supposed to start somewhere. Even if you fall. Like, I'm skimming this while you're talking, and again echoing all of your sentiments, but hiking, and Kelly she like hurt her ankle.
Hurt herself? Yes.
Hurt herself.
There were multiple injuries on that
trip. In the same trip, some of us are like going swimming, and
when they dove off the cliff. That happened in that trip. Oh, I forgot about that. I was like, Mary went cliff diving?
There was so many things that happened like back to back to back to back that I truly felt like I was dreaming. It was, and like that I had no direction. Like the only direction was one foot in front of the other, and hopefully you don't fall off the mountain.
That was also, like, side note, that was honestly terrifying. They said it was like a little, they didn't even say it was a hike.
It was a little hike. No, we're about to.
It was mountain climbing. We were like using our hands, like getting up with like a steep cliff, like type of thing. I was like, we did not have shoes for this. I was like, this is not okay. People slipped, people hurt themselves because it was not safe. And I was like, why are they have us doing this?
And the next day, it was, I turned 19 on like the third day, and they dropped us off in the middle of the city and said, all right, see ya, figure out your way back. Yep. Again, just scared of a new beginning is like, okay, I guess we're like trying this totally new thing, and you figure it out, and it's all part of the journey. And even if you have to like sit for 3 hours and wait for the 870, and then I don't know. But also like always begin could be in the simplest moments as well. But yeah, so it's just applied to everything in everyday life there. But
I forgot about that. You're right. The scavenger hunt they made us.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, you're gonna get in a group and we're just gonna drop you at a random place and then you're gonna have to figure it out.
Yeah, I remember we had to like give a cappuccino to a Swiss guard, and I was like, I thought you weren't supposed to talk to them.
You're not.
Like, I thought you were gonna like that we were gonna get like hit with the horse or something. Like somebody was gonna like come arrest us, La Policia. Or I was like, I feel like this is a trap. What are we doing?
Oh man, that was low-key so fun though. And then the little videos people made, like after our little time.
Somebody still has all of those for sure.
I hope they do. I feel like I collect them now from people. Like I collect like just little ones. But yeah, so something okay, so one of my first sorry, what was that, Hannah? My bad.
Nothing. I just had one day at a time.
Yeah, one day at a time. Yep, that's the first point. So in our friendship, something that you often say, which honestly at times would frustrate me because I'm such a type A planner, is like I will call you and I'll be like, oh, let's get together, and I'll like try to coordinate something, and you will just say to me, Simone, I can't think that far ahead yet. I barely know what I'm doing tomorrow. I'm taking things one day at a time. And for a period of time, you were going through, I feel like, what looked externally like constant change, like just new beginnings every year or so. So I would just ask, and I think I have an idea of it, but I really want to hear in your own words, like how did having a mindset of one day at a time help you in the midst of like all that change, I guess? And like, did it give you peace? And like, what lessons did you take away from that period of your life?
Yeah. I don't know. I always just felt like, yeah, things were constantly moving. And then when things were really good, and then I like really wanted those good feelings again, like how we were when we were in Italy. And I just like craved being able to see everybody and like craved that control. But I felt so out of control with other areas of my life that was the only like truly means of survival was one day at a time, one foot in front of the other. And you eventually get to where you're supposed to be in the exact moment that you're supposed to be, which is so frustrating in the moment. Like I really hated when people would tell me that, or like, oh, you'll figure out why this is happening later. You know, like I wanted to know right now. And I really had to find peace in letting go of not knowing. So I guess, yeah, the Spark Notes version of the craziness is, you know, trying to navigate everybody graduating, and I've always been the youngest. So I always felt like I was being left behind and like trying to play catch up, or like trying to be at the same stage of life as everybody else. And then like COVID hit and my parents were going through this nasty, nasty divorce. And like, you never think that that's going to happen to you when you're 22 years old, you know, like you think it usually happens when kids are younger. And so I didn't have anybody to talk to about that because it was not something that was common. So I didn't know what was going to happen on any given day, and really had to lean on that of just like, you're going to start this new day. It's going to be different than yesterday. It's not going to necessarily be better than yesterday, but it's going to be different than yesterday. And to just keep an open mind, going back to what you were saying at the beginning of this podcast of what is around you and the opportunities that are being presented to you in the little moments in life and the big moments. So, yeah, I ended up living in Arizona for a year to kind of just get away from everything. And that was exactly where I was supposed to be and exactly where I was not supposed to be at the same time. Can't explain it. But then moved to Florida. And again, I was exactly where I was supposed to be in that moment and exactly not where I was supposed to be long term. But you just take everything day by day, and you have to be open-minded to learn so much from the people around you and the people that you meet. So a lot of really beautiful things happened in that time. But truly, yeah, I couldn't think that far ahead because I had no control over what was going on around me, that the only way that I could survive in those years was to take it one day at a time. And I will say, Simone, I am a little bit better now than I used to be.
No, I'm not going to say it was bad.
Summer, I said, "What are you doing next weekend? You should come up here." And you said, "All right." And it was exactly how it was supposed to happen.
Because you've helped me be more spontaneous.
Okay, well, good. That's how it's supposed to be.
It is. And it's frustrating as it was, like, initially, Hannah, like, I'm grateful for your one day at a time approach. I've learned so much from it, especially because what you're saying is essentially like what being a believer is. It is literally trusting God with like every moment, every day, kind of submitting your will to his will, lacking control, lacking certainty of what's going on. Like faith is almost like, from I think externally looking in, it's like blind trust, right? It's like, oh, you're just going to trust that things are going to work out how they're supposed to work out in a sense sometimes. But it's scary in the moment and you just don't know what you're supposed to be doing all the time.
I don't know. I still don't know, but I'm more open to the opportunities now than I was. Like, I'm not as scared as I was before because I didn't know, not that it's going to be perfect every day from here on out, because there's still moments that get scary and anxiety inducing, but you just are more open to what you can learn from the world and learn from the people around you, and that not everything has to be linear. So yeah, it's special. And our friendship is so special that you have been with me through all of those eras of my life, and you know so much about me that nobody else knows.
Same.
Because we were thrown in by divine intervention at this moment in our lives, and we met exactly when we were supposed to, and continue this friendship from afar. So
amen. Exactly. It's like the fact that I've even been able to like visit you in Florida or like maintain our connection. And then some of the things that you were going through when you were going through them, like I was kind of experiencing similar things, not the same, but like similar things, or like maybe not when you were doing it, but like afterwards. So then what you just went through helped me get through the next piece of it. Like just the advice you could give, the patience you could offer, the guidance, and like for both of us, I think in different points. So it's been so like, wow, like God can pick your friends. He can pick your friends real well.
I don't have it any other way. Please pick my friends.
Exactly. And just what you're saying, like I think something to consider in the midst of this conversation of like one day at a time, it really takes me back to like the Sermon on the Mount and like Matthew 6:34 of like, therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about its own things. Sufficient for today is its own trouble. And not even saying that like there are troubles like, moment to moment sometime, but just like focusing on the here and now. I think you never want to get to a place where you're super, super future oriented or super fixated on the past, because then you're not taking the opportunity, I think, like you're saying, to be aware of like who's around you, like what people has God like connected you with, like what opportunities are right before you, what challenges are you currently trying to overcome, what joys are present in the moment, and like fully experiencing all of that. Like a new, like when you were in Arizona, it was just so cool. Every time I talked to you, it was like a new hiking trail or a new group that maybe you're connecting with, or something funny that your students said that day, or like just you were just having all these very diverse type of experiences and a lot of novelty. And it was just very exciting. And I know that there was like a lot of struggles still in that
that was not without its like fair share of heavy trial, and don't want to repeat ever again in my life. But you do have moments where you find the beauty in the struggle, and you have to lean on those too.
And I think even this idea of like, okay, like tomorrow will worry for itself, like kind of be present in the moment, like today is sufficient. Like it also makes me think of like the Israelites and when they're in the wilderness. Because even like when you were in Arizona, I was like, this is a wilderness. Like for you, it was a wilderness.
Yeah, javelinas and the rattlesnakes and the tarantulas.
Yes.
I'll take this blizzard and this -8 degrees we have today over that any day.
Facts. Yeah, I would love to visit Arizona. I don't think I could live there for sure. Like it was like over 100 degrees most days when you were there. And I was like, how are you walking outside? Like
I wilted.
Oh man. But it makes me
wilted. I dried up. Yeah. But again, like I just never would have had those experiences though if I hadn't taken a leap of faith. And the same thing when 10 years ago, choosing to like take that leap of faith and study abroad in Rome and meet cool people and push myself outside of my comfort zone to really figure out who I am and what I stand for. And even thinking back now, like there's so much about 2016 Hannah that like was exactly where I was supposed to be in that moment, but so many things that I have challenged since then in good ways. And you have to continue to chase those instincts, chase those dreams, even if you have no idea what's going to be on the other side, and trust that if you take that next step forward, that everything is going to be okay and you're going to learn so much about yourself in the process. And I wouldn't trade that for anything. I wouldn't repeat it, but I wouldn't trade those experiences for anything. And I loved my time in Florida, and I think that I would still be there if not for some just other worldly interventions that were happening at the moment, where I just knew I wasn't where I was supposed to be long term, but I still grieve that time. Like it was really beautiful. I grieve our time in Rome because it was so beautiful. And I think you can have that healthy amount of grievances of something that is so beautiful that impacted who you are and all of your decisions moving forward. So lots of beautiful things to be focusing on.
No, that's a very powerful point. It kind of makes me think of like what I want to talk about even later in the podcast, but I will get there in a minute.
I dare you to jump down in this outline.
I'm so gonna jump down, but no, like another piece though of what you said. So like, I don't know. You said so many. You were dropping gems, honey. I love it.
I'm just speaking from the heart. I ain't got a plan. I've never had a plan. Actually, that's a lie. Anytime I've ever had a plan, it gets shattered. So no, I don't have a plan.
What?
Never play, never have I ever with God, or never will I ever. Listen.
Never will I ever. Yes.
I would never live outside my hometown. I would never live in Florida. There's gators that I would like. All these things. I would never live in Petoskey. There's too many old people that live there.
But you love it. Do you not?
I love it now. Well, and I was so wrong about all of those things. And thank God I was wrong about all of those things.
Wow. So just even in that vein of like reflecting on who you were 10 years ago, 5 years ago, the thoughts and opinions that you had, it really speaks to, I think, this one day at a time thing, because an aspect of it is renewing your mind daily. And Apostle Paul like implores believers like in Romans 12:1-2 to not conform to the world, but rather to be transformed by the renewing of their minds. And I think this just resonates with the dilemma we face as like modern day Christians. Just because there's so much of a combating between like what the world says and culture says and like what the Bible says sometimes. And we really have to intentionally submit these ideas to God, submit like like how you were talking about earlier about challenging what beliefs you held. Like, why do you believe what you believe? Really kind of having a little self-apologetics moment. Like, why do I believe what I believe? And like really holding it up to the light. And whether it is a naturally good thing, like even if you started off, because I think initially like, I don't know where you stand now. We don't need to go into the details, but as example, like pro-life in Rome, like you were very pro-life, like you had done like multiple marches.
Oh, I still am.
Okay. Yeah. but like you were, but
there's
you
other things that I challenge. That's not one of them.
I know. Like, but for instance, like for me, like I had to challenge that. Like I had to challenge my mindset behind my position, why really like and submit that to the Lord. And that was one of the things that he transformed in my mindset. And I think when we're having this conversation of just like, you know, every day looking at things differently, it's like every single day believers are faced with choices and decisions that either conform to the world or conform to God's will. And I think in the midst of that, like not even just conforming like our minds and our wills and our emotions, but just also making sure to conform our plans to God's will. So like, as everyone probably can get at this point, I'm a crazy type A planner, and I have to resist the urge to plan every moment. So this is really speaking to me. Like I'm preaching to myself, because every week, every month, like just kind of understanding, and even in every moment or every day, just letting it be open and leaving room for God, like submitting my plans to him, to best align with his will for my life, not always what I think it is. Because I could think, oh, I'm supposed to live somewhere for a certain amount of time, or this is where I want to do it, this is where I'm going to go. But God could have another plan. Because I think, like we've talked about it, I'm moving to where I work, and I was thinking about doing that maybe at some point, like kind of like this distant thing in the future. But it became very apparent, like probably a couple months ago, of like the prices changed, like everything kind of shifted in a way that made me go, yep, now's the time. Now's exactly the time I need to move. And even though it was scary and it didn't even feel completely necessary, like financial wise or just timing wise, but and through submitting that idea to him, like he just kept revealing to me all these reasons of like, this is why, and then continually getting confirmation about it. Like craziest thing happened the other day. Like I was giving a tour and a girl came in, she was working with my boss, and then they came into the room as I was finishing up another tour, and I just heard Simone, and I turned around and it was this girl that I literally lived with my sophomore year of college, like in Nap House. Oh. And I was and she's like, I'm moving here. And I was like, I'm moving here too. Like, she's like,
no way.
It was the
whole circle thing. Girl. That's awesome.
I'm like, girl, we're starting a book club, because she was like into books, romance novels, everything. Like the only romance novel I've ever read was I borrowed from her. Like I was like, this is hilarious. Like I'm like, wow, we're starting a book club. You'll be so excited. So it was just such a moment of like, okay, God, I see you. Like you've been lining up all of this for me to move in at this specific time, for these people around me, giving me little pieces of confirmation along the way. And it's just a really beautiful thing that he does that. So I think looking at scripture too, like leaving room for God, like submitting your plans to him, making sure it aligns with his will. One of my favorite scriptures is Proverbs 16:3, which is to commit to the Lord whatever you do, and he will establish your plans. And that's an NIV version, but the New Living Translation says, commit your actions to the Lord and your plans will succeed. So I love both of them. I think there's a little bit of different meaning you can take from each. Like from the NIV version, I really take that whatever you want to do, you need to commit those plans and ideas to the Lord and like tell him like, hey, this is what I want to do, and allow the space for God to kind of alter it or change it. Because I'll even like I have my journal, my journal, I'm a planner. I'm like make a 5-year plan type person, right? Yeah. So like, I've written out like, okay, these are the areas of my life I'm going to focus on. Like these are the things I want to focus on for the next year, for this year, for next year, whatever. And I wrote it out like a version of it like in November, right? But by January, I was already editing, revising it, because I'm like, okay, God moved that up. He pushed that back. He changed this, whatever. And I'm like, okay, I'm here for it. This is the new plan, because this is like, I kind of said to the Lord, hey, these are the things that are on my mind. This is what's on my heart. Reveal to me what's in your plan right now, what's in your purpose, what's in your will, and I'll adjust accordingly. And I just think when you partner with God in that way, that it can be very powerful, and there's like a lot of peace that comes from it. So like, I don't think it's wrong to plan ahead, essentially. Like I love our one day at a time approach. I love our carpe diem lifestyle we sometimes have, you and I, of like, we're just gonna seize the day, like, hey, I'm coming up north next weekend, or I'm like, let's do it tomorrow, or whatever we do. But we seize the day. We be, love all the Latin phrases, but it was like, we be seizing the day. We're living in the moment. We're taking one day at a time. And there's so much beauty in that. There's so much beauty in taking it one day at a time, because it ensures that we do move at that pace of grace and that we don't go ahead of God. But I think it's also important to be mindful to remain just in the midst of that, like being mindful to remain in alignment and trust that he is with us at every step into what's next. When we encounter the new, whether it be a new job, a new vehicle, a new home, a new relationship, a new city, it's essential to acknowledge that beginnings are a holy space, and that each new beginning or season is holy ground. So to remember, I would say, to build an altar and dedicate it to the Lord, and dedicate it to the newness, that newness to the Lord. And by building an altar, I kind of get that from Genesis 8. So, and also knowing, I think from my perspective, that restarts or new beginnings or beginning again require rebuilding of some sort. So in Genesis 8, which has really just been on my mind and heart a lot, the first thing Noah did upon transitioning from the ark was to build an altar for the Lord. And I interpret this to mean not only physically building a sacred space to honor and commune with God, but also the necessity of sometimes, I would say, but also the necessity to rebuild our relationships with God and to prioritize a deeper connection to the Holy Spirit. So in practice, I think that ensures that we do put God first in a new beginning. Because people always say that, like, oh, is God at the center of this? Or did you put God first today? Or are you prioritizing God? And I think saying that makes a lot of sense, but the practice of doing it, it's like, what does that really look like? And I think it looks like this. It looks like committing those plans to the Lord. It really, if you have a new idea, if you have a new concept, if there's something that you're desiring, like to make him front and center as you're kind of moving through that or to that decision. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that? Like, what is, when you're like making your moves and your journeys, I know there's been so many moments where it's like God just made the opportunity kind of come up. And I think it's been very beautiful to see.
Yeah, I think for me, it's less of that because I tend to put a lot of pressure on myself. And whenever I heard like the sentiment and like the purpose and the intentions behind, like, oh yeah, like how are you putting God first in your life, are all so good. Like, and like I said, I just think that, yeah, the intention is good, but my execution was poor because I put pressure on what it's supposed to look like. And I was always one that, like, I have to do the right thing the first time. I hate messing up. I don't want to fail. I don't want to do the wrong thing. And that ended up not being very helpful at all. So instead, I feel like I follow more of what St. Catherine of Siena says, to be who God made you to be and you'll set the world on fire, or always pursue what sets your soul on fire. And then I haven't been able to go wrong, if that makes sense. Like, every decision that I made and have made is the right decision at that time. It's not like we're always growing, we're always changing, we're always beginning. But like, if you're always pursuing what sets your soul on fire, that's already connected to God and God's will, and like God's purpose for you. So, and then I think that alleviated a lot of stress for me, that it's not just like one way to do things. And if you don't do things this way, then like you're a failure for the rest of your life.
No, that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, well, no, I put that pressure on myself for such a long time, and I still put pressure on myself in a lot of other aspects of my life, but I found so much peace in just trying new things and pursuing, what sets your soul on fire. And that's what I tell my kids, and that's how I can bring that element of God into the classroom without saying it. because you could get in a lot of trouble in the public.
I know you can't say it.
Maybe not in Petoskey like you would in other areas of the world, but just like bringing that sense of love and that peace is to students, especially my seniors, when they're so frightened of what am I going to do next? What am I supposed to do? Like, what decisions do I have to make so I can be successful? It's a lot of pressure to put on a 17-year-old. And I'm like, you just need to constantly pursue what is giving you life inside. Don't chase after the dream. Don't chase after the money. And they hate when I say that. They're like, money's everything, Miss H, in this economy. And like, no, it's not. Do you see me hustling with jobs just to live and get by? But I love every second of what I do, and I wouldn't change it for anything. Like it's all connected. We're all where we're supposed to be. So I would say that's what I do versus like, yeah, thinking about how you're supposed to be doing things at any given moment. Am I pursuing what sets my soul on fire? Yes or no? Act accordingly.
I love that. And you give me that advice sometimes when I'm like talking to you about stuff and you're like, well, does it set your soul on fire? And I just love
it doesn't, then what are you doing?
Exactly. You like there's been so many moments
where I'm
like, oh, I'm in this job, and you're like, does it set your soul on fire? I'm like, no. You're like, you gotta quit.
Amen. Maybe not up and throw everything up in flames, but start to reflect on what does set your soul on fire and make intentional moves towards that.
Amen. No, but I think that's a really, I love the practical application of that, because I think, I do struggle with that whole people like, are you putting God first? And it's like, I think I am, but I think that's a really good heart, mind, body, soul check of like, is this really something that I'm excited about doing? Is this really setting my soul on fire? Because I think even in the context of like, your cynical high schoolers, or just even when you're in college in general, like there's going to be so many things that can maybe come up and pique interest in you, or people might think you're really good at X, Y, and Z. And it's very easy to get pulled in a lot of different directions. But I think having that centering moment of like, what does my soul like? What really sets me on fire? Like, what do I get the most joy and fulfillment from doing? And focusing on that, and then knowing that like wherever that is, that'll lead you to God being able to provide for you. I think that sometimes, and I understand society, and I understand the economy, and I understand all these things, but as believers, I think what's a countercultural perspective is like trusting on God to provide for us day to day, like, and provide sustenance, like the Israelites in the wilderness, and him giving manna, like in the quail, like the manna in the morning, the quail in the evening. I'll put scripture references in the description box so you can reflect on those stories yourself. But it's just like trusting that God will provide. And that even reminds me of this like hilarious story. Like I was staying with my sister. We had a little sister staycation this December. Yeah. And we stayed at this like really bougie hotel in Birmingham. It's called the Daxton. And we just really enjoyed it because we're like little hotel girlies. We like to go get fancy food, hang out, watch movies, kiki, sleepover style, but like in luxury. Like, so we're checking into this hotel.
Dream.
We like to make little moments special, I guess. I love staycations because I feel like I like vacations and I like staycations because I just like to make every day feel fancy, like it's, you don't have to go somewhere crazy to just enjoy the moment. Treat yourself. It's our treat yourself moment. Shout out to Parks and Rec. But we check in, they give us like, they're like, oh, would you like some sparkling wine? And like we got our little sparkling wine. We got
yes, ma'am, I would. And a robe.
So we're chilling. And then I don't know if it's like for everyone, but I think there's certain floors that are maybe like like honors floors. Like they're part of like the curio collection for Hilton. So I think there's like Hilton honors floors, like if you're gold and diamond. And there's these rooms on the floors, and my sister started calling it the manna room because every time you walk past, there's like more food and like pastries and sweets and beverages, like Michigan themed things. So every time we would like walk by, she's like, let's go look at the manna room, like let's see what's in there. Like because they like in the morning and the evening they like refresh it. So we really felt like we were just it was silly, but it really did remind me of the fact of like, we can trust that God is going to provide like in those moments, like and it may seem like almost like a miracle, but obviously manna from heaven was a miracle, but even these new beginnings are miracles. And sometimes even the perception of failing can be like a redirection, like I would kind of ask you, like, what does failing forward look like for you in your life? Or are failures to you simply just redirections? Because I don't even like to say like I failed at something, in a way, not because I like have a fear of failing, but more so because I don't even look at it like failing anymore. I look at it like I had this opportunity, I tried something most people never try, out of fear. So it's like, at least I tried. I learned something about myself. I learned something about my needs. I learned something about what I want going forward. And that's just information I can use to move forward in whatever direction I feel like God's leading me. So what does that look like for you? And obviously you can have a different perspective than me, but
well, before I get into that, I'll say it sounds like the real manna was like your time with your sister. Like that was and like in that memory of like going up and like seeing the manna room, it wasn't the room at all. It was like you guys walking up and like laughing and loving together. Yeah. So that's really beautiful. I love that.
Thank you.
I don't know. I think I'd say like you, I just don't see it as like a one and done. And I think once I reshamed my mindset on that, it did alleviate a lot of the pressure and the anxiety of, you have these experiences and you're a lifelong learner, and there's going to be so many things that you learn about yourself, the good, the bad, the ugly. And you have to know, in order to move on and, let go of things that you're supposed to let go of, and learn what you're supposed to learn to kind of come into your own. And I think about all of my moves and what beautiful things I would have missed out on if I hadn't said yes to moving there in the first place, even though it didn't end up being the long term and like where I'm going to end up. If I, like, looking back, if I had said like, oh, if I could change not moving to Florida or like just staying put in Arizona or like moving back to Michigan, and I think about all of the people that I met and all the interactions that I had, and all the things that I experienced, like they would have just been gone and I never would have known. So like always just being courageous, and you can never fail if you are trying something new. You're learning, you're a lifelong learner, but I would never consider anything a failure. I always think of it as a redirection or like just a new beginning. Like you just start over again.
Yeah. No, I love that. Can I ask, like, for you, is there anything currently in your life that you feel like you're in the midst of rebuilding or beginning again?
Oh man. I think what's wild is to think about, like, not that I always follow social media trends and stuff, but like this whole energy of 2016 has really been sitting with me. Not that I would post about it, but just like looking back at who I was in that era, and I was so quiet and like very much and I still am more of a listener more than I am a responder, or I listen first before I respond. But I'm never the first to speak. And I've been doing a lot more speaking engagements, especially when it comes to revolutionizing the way that we teach English in our secondary classroom, so it's not plug and chug, meaningless BS. And we're actually connecting these ideas in our required curriculum to things that students actually give a damn about, and things that are going to change the world. So I see myself being a lot braver in that way in this next year. And yeah, letting myself be open to things that I was previously closed off to when it comes to like my life and I'm going to be single forever. Like I enjoy my single life. I love my time alone and adventuring and all of that, and just open to what my life looks like with somebody else that I love very much. So, yeah, that's kind of how I see the shift this year. And it's new beginnings, but it's not like I would never thought that I like moving states was going to be the familiar thing because I did it so many times. Like, how does that become
the norm?
Yeah. Now I'm pretty set where I live, and building that life around here is the unfamiliar thing. But it's beautiful, and I'm very excited for it. I think there's obviously things day to day that make me nervous, but as a whole, I'm not scared for it.
I love that. Oh, yeah. I love that you are putting down some roots in Petoskey. Like you have the new relationship and you're really building your business, which is so amazing. And I definitely want to link your please share your podcast link, and I'll shout out your Instagram handle, tag that somehow. I'm not that technical, but I'll figure it out. So people can find your content, because even though I'm not even an educator, and I love watching your reels and the content things, I'm like, that's a good idea, or I wish my teachers were this involved. And it's just so creative. You are revolutionizing, I think, how people approach English and language arts, because I'm a lifelong honors lit person, AP lit person. So I love reading, I love those things, but I would always want to engage in conversation, and people just didn't want to, because kids were bored with the curriculum. And now
it's a good jumping off point, but it really stops because our world is continuing to move every single day. So these curriculums easily become outdated even after a year, and you have to constantly be finding new ways to make those connections and first model those connections, but then teach kids how to critically think when they want to turn to the internet to do everything for them. So yeah, and that's what sets my soul on fire. So it's my third job. I teach, and I work at one of the wineries up here, and I do this, and I wouldn't trade it because it does set my soul on fire. All three of those jobs. Does it burn me out sometimes? Absolutely. And things shift, my priorities with all three of them shift a little bit, but depending on the time of year. But this is what you were called to do, and I think if you always pursue what you're called to do, you can't go wrong.
I completely agree with that. And even in the midst of building an altar to the Lord, or just kind of starting over again and rebuilding something in your life, rebuilding how you're looking at work, how you're approaching relationships, moving to a new place, I would just encourage people to be patient with yourself.
Always.
And as we said, don't start on your own. Invite God in and to see clear confirmations and direction, because but I think that internal indicator too of just what sets your soul on fire is a really an essential place to begin. But I'll reflect on the fact that Noah kept waiting for the dove before he left the ark, he waited for the dove to bring back the leaf, and there was just a lot of different he keeps checking to see is it time, and really being sensitive to the spirit of knowing the time. So I'd say be discerning, be cautious, but don't have fear, because God has not given us a spirit of fear, and it's so easy to have fear and anxiety in this world. But I think to trust how you're saying you can't fail. If you're doing something that makes your soul happy, sets you on fire, it's a part of your purpose, you can't fail, really. You just have to listen for that still small voice. Sometimes wait to know that it's a safe time to proceed. But like, just move forward, like just try, just like start, just start. And don't rush it. I think it can be very tempting to push full steam ahead, even like, especially when you're passionate about stuff. Like I think about, especially like this podcast, like honestly, like when I started it, like 2024, there was a lot of different shifts and changes that happened. But by the end of 2024, like I was probably producing like at least an episode a week, like just like, there was a couple episodes at the end of December that I was like, I post like 2 or 3 in a week because I was just so on fire and I had people were available. So I like had the time and I just had like, I think a grace to do that. And I was very much like starting 2025. I was like, oh my gosh, here's my outline. I had made an outline. I had lined up people. I had talked to people about being guests. Everything was set to go. And when I was like in prayer and reflecting on the beginning of the year, God told me very clearly, like Selah, which means pause in Hebrew. And I was like, what? Like, God, I'm on fire right now. Like, why would I stop? Like, why would I stop? Like, what you mean? He's like, not stop, pause, just pause, press pause on this plan that you've created. Like, I'm with you, but like pause. And just being sensitive to that and knowing that because I paused at the beginning of 2025 and now it's the beginning of 2026 and I've reworked that plan a lot. And now I still have most of those people are set to still partner with me. But I've met so many people just in 2025 that are going to be partnering with me on this podcast, that have conversations with me on things that I was already planning to talk about. But I know that there will be so much life and color in the conversations because of the new people I've met. So I'm just like, wow, like there was so much purpose in that pause.
Yeah.
And like to just trust that like when God's like, he's moving some things. So don't rush. Like I will say that don't rush into whatever it is, like exercise some patience. And that will, I think, support like your ability to be resilient when things are changing, when the atmosphere is shifting, when everything is going on. And it will support you being ultimately successful, I think, too. But without pressure on yourself. Because there's no greater pleasure than being in the will of God and fulfilling his purpose and plan for your life. Because the restarts in life and the rebuilding in life, it's not only for his glory, because it definitely is, it's also for your good, but it's really for like he gets the glory out of all of it. I don't know, I just even recently had a can I share like a weird testimony revelation?
Yeah.
So I will try to get the Spark Notes version, as you said, but I recently had it was a revelation. It was kind of like a weird moment where I realized like every Bible I have was given to me. And that might be like weird, like, okay, that's whatever. But when I reflected on it, I realized like, okay, like I had my King James Version Bible. That was the first like real Bible I got from my mom when I was little, like gold leaf pages, pink, like adorable pictures and all of that stuff, and like the red letters and all that. But it's like, it was like, it really to me symbolized like the foundation of my faith. Like starting out young, like that was the foundation of my faith. And then when I graduated college and started like at a new church that I found like in Grand Rapids, like the graduation present was like a New International Version, like an NIV Bible. It was like a paper Bible, and that Bible got me through so much. Like that Bible I've got like written in the margins, I've highlighted to death, I've like dog-eared stuff. Like it was like, it's currently my travel Bible, like for real. Like I was like, I would go everywhere with this Bible. It was really in the midst when I was going through when I was going through the divorce, when I was going through whatever, like that Bible was like everything. So it really for me marks that season of like ending like, college time, going through those transformative like young adult years. When I was back here on the east side of the state, I'm, joining a new church, getting involved in things, joining like a different women Bible study. And I started thinking like, I want to study Bible. Like I kept thinking about like, I really want to study Bible. I was researching which ones to get. I go to this Bible study and my friend literally, like, I check out hers. I'm like, oh, that looks really cool. Like, can I look at that? Because I'm trying to figure out which one I want to get. And it was like an ESV. And I was like, oh, this looks really cool. Like, can you send me the link, or like, where'd you find it? And she's like, oh, it's yours. She's like, you can have it. I was like, what? Like, this is a fancy, it's leather bound. It's like, I'm like, are you sure? She's like, yeah, it's yours. And I was like, okay. And like, that Bible gave me so much insight as I was planning just the first season of the podcast. So like, I think it's pictured in all my reels. Like, I have all the, like, it's like my ESV study Bible, and I loved it. And it was really like helped me get deeper in like the word, and like as I was like really starting to say like the Greek and the Hebrew and all this, like I just love that Bible. And then a few months ago, I'm at work, and this girl walks into the office, and she just hands me like this New King James Version Bible. And I had been thinking about purchasing a New King James Version because everyone's like, it's the best translation. And I'm like, whatever. But I wanted like a New King James Version, red letter, larger font, like smaller Bible that's more accessible, that I could actually like just bring to church, because my other one's kind of big. And she literally like walks to the office, and she's like, here you go. Like, can you, here, this was on my car. And I was like, you don't want a leather bound red, like, I'm like, you don't want this? And she's like, no, it's yours. And I was like, okay. And I just kind of took it. I was like, well, I guess I gotta work by them.
Yeah, like you're all set for all of your places.
Yeah. And it also, yes, it's like I have a Bible almost for every occasion now, but also it's like I feel like I receive these Bibles, and it's like God almost telling me like, you're in a new season right now. Like every like new level of like just feeling like I'm kind of growing deeper in my relationship with the Lord, or like I'm in a new phase of life even. It's like there's a new Bible for it. So I think, yeah, I don't know. That's just a sensitive thing. So I would say, because even when people gave it to me, I was like, wait, is this mine? Whatever. But my third point would be to embrace the new. So to make sure the process from the previous season is complete, because I think sometimes like when it comes to being in the moment, or like you're in a new place in life, it can be really tempting to dwell on past experiences. I think in a nostalgic way, like I'm a very nostalgic person, so I'm always gonna like cherish memories and like reflect on the past. But I think to do it in a tempered way is really important. But the lessons and the trials and things like that, like to make sure that you kind of complete them in a way, like you heal those things. Obviously healing is not linear, so you're always kind of healing a little bit from some, but to just be mindful of that, and to just make every effort to not bring the past into the present, to honor the past in the midst of the present, but to not bring it in, or like let it color it, or let it distract from it, or let it take away from it. As we talked a lot about, like maybe not being too concerned about the future, but also we have to be mindful of the past, and just not dwelling on it, and like use it to inform us, but to keep continuing to move forward. You'll still have hard days, I think, when overcoming past disappointments and trauma, but it is important to not allow the aspects of your journey to distract you from accepting and embracing what's new and what new is happening for you. So to actively let go of former things, even forgiving, and like Isaiah 43, 18 through 19, it says, do not remember the former things, nor consider the things of old. Behold, I will do a new thing. Now it shall spring forth. Shall you not know it? Or like some versions or translations will say, do you not perceive it? Do you not perceive that I am doing a new thing? And I think for me, like that Bible testimony is really like God telling me, like, don't you see right now, it's a new season. Like you need to not forget the former things. Like we always use that to inform our past. I don't like to, people say forgive and forget. I don't really think you ever forget those things. I don't think you should, but I think you should not let it hold heaviness in your spirit anymore. To inform you. And I think there's so much power in like letting go of things. And I think, I think about that meme in my head of like when like the little girl has her little teddy bear that she's like clinging on to, and like Jesus is in front of her, and he has like a huge like teddy bear
behind him.
Yes. And he wants to like, he's like, okay, let go of that thing so I can give you this new thing. And I would say personally, like some things that God has led me to let go of recently was like my old wedding dress. Like I just donated it. I just really felt like a really release. One, like someone said it to me. I had been thinking about it. I think God said it to me in prayer. And then I saw my friend who was just like a whole mouthpiece for the Lord. And she was like, She's like, she asked me, she's like, do you still have your wedding dress? And I was like, yeah. She's like, you should get rid of it. And I was like, why? Like, it's just in a closet. It's just in a garment bag. Like, what's it doing? It's not hurting nobody. And I was like, but I had to sit with it, and I had to really like release. I was like, okay, God, like, and I felt really released to do it, and I did, and I felt such a weight lifted off of me. And then next it was like, like selling my rings or whatever. Like I never really thought it was that important. I'm like, oh, it's a piece of jewelry. It's not even like a diamond. It doesn't look like, an actual engagement ring. I wear like a cocktail ring sometimes, or just like, a piece of jewelry. But I really felt a conviction to like just let it go. And I think in the midst of that, God was just like, I'm trying to give you something new. I want to give you something new. I can't give you something new if you keep holding on to what you had. And I don't know. That for me was like, I'm not telling everyone, like, if you like obviously seek the Lord, figure out where you're at in your own journey, or what things he is like, relaying to you to let go of. But I think that's a big piece of like what to do when you're beginning, and like embracing that new. And you can't really embrace the new unless you're kind of letting go of the former things.
Yeah. Wow. That's really beautiful.
I know it's really deep. I was like, do I want to share this on the podcast?
No. I'm so glad that you did. Yeah, I think that's a piece of it too. I haven't had an experience quite like that. I think for me, it's also like not knowing what's even possible out there for me. Like I don't know if you feel the same way, where you're like, I don't even know what to pray for in the next 5 years because I don't even know what's possible out there. And
that right there, I don't want to interject too much, but
no,
a friend recently said to me, she's just like, she was talking about like maybe this was 6 months ago, and I'm single. I'm kind of in the midst of like a depressive episode, and she's like telling me, she's like, you need to dream bigger. You need to believe bigger. She's like, you should be, instead of like these little day-to-day moments, she's like, I challenge you to kind of like think about what could be in 10 years. Like, think outside the box. She's like, you could be retired with a rich husband on a yacht somewhere. Like, just think about what could be happening, like what you want to happen. And my godmother just gave me like this journal, and it's called Believing Bigger. And like, I started it. It's like 100 days devotional type journal. Cool. And I started filling out, because it was a lot of prompts that really kind of got me thinking and going on like what could be possible. And I started thinking about these things. I only got 30 days into this journal, but then like so many things back to back have been happening. The relationship, the apartment, the possibility of this new job, a vehicle. Like, it's just been like, God has been blowing my mind. Awesome. And things that like I literally was like, oh, that could never happen, or maybe that'll happen in the future. I don't even know. It's this like, I just say like, sit with him and try to think about like, if you could just think, what does exceedingly and abundantly look like to you? And like believe for that.
Yeah, take those brave leaps of faith for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know why this memory's in my head. It won't leave. I don't know if it connects at all. It won't leave. But
doesn't matter.
Like right before Arizona, I went to our friend Mark's wedding. Shout out Mark.
Yes,
he was also going with us. And I can't remember if it was before or after the wedding. We decided we were gonna go like on the Shenandoah. We were gonna just like tube down and then maybe do a little bit of hiking and then cliff jump, apparently. Ooh. And I didn't think it was that high when we were like walking up there. And I didn't really realize how high up we were. But our friend Zach was like, he had 1 foot on the top rock and then 1 foot on a rock below. And he's like, all right, you got to like step up and step over. And then you're like, and then the water's right there. So like, I watched our friends do it, right? And they're all like having a great time. Like, they're like, this is great. And I'm at a point in my life where I was like, I don't care what happens to me. Like, this was like really heat of the divorce and all of that too. So I was like, let's just like have fun. We're great. We're young. And I definitely like would not have done it if I'd have known how far down it was. Like, and the fact that we had to like you had to like step up and over, like there was no waiting at the top.
Oh God.
You were like going up and then down into the river. And that's such a like pivotal moment of my faith, because then the next day like got offered the job in Arizona, and the rest was history after that. And I was like, brave leaps of faith, baby. Like that's the theme from here on out. But like I wouldn't have, like I didn't know what was possible. And I don't think I would have like said yes to going to Arizona if I hadn't just done that. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
It's very symbolic of like, even if you don't know what's next, you still have to trust. And like you were just saying, like letting go of expectations, because I think when you have expectations, sometimes you doubt yourself, or like that instinct of like hesitation kicks in of maybe I won't do this, maybe I won't move, maybe I'll just stay where I'm at in this cozy little spot, instead of stepping outside my comfort zone and really seeing what's out there and what's possible. Connecting back to what you were saying about like once you let go, all these beautiful things can emerge, and things that you like never expected of your life. So the end.
Wow, Hannah, you continue to inspire me, because people say I'm adventurous, but I ain't never cliff dive before. Like,
girl, I hurt my back so bad, and it hurt, and maybe that was symbolic too, with like God saying it's gonna hurt, but it's gonna change you. It's gonna change your life. It's also gonna hurt. So,
yeah.
and I think
wow,
but
think of like
growth without a little bit of the sting. So
exactly, and it set in motion so many incredible things. Like, girl, you ran a marathon. You have created this business. You're doing speak. I'm just saying, like,
but just pursue what sets your soul on fire always. Like, and whatever that looks like for you, whoever's listening, whatever you're doing right now, continue to pursue what sets your soul on fire.
Amen.
Amen.
Well, I would say, like, in just the midst of this, like just having a conversation about beginnings, about the humbleness that comes with beginnings. I know that we're in the midst of a culture that is obsessed with destinations. We all desire to arrive like at a certain point in life. So if you're a student, you want to graduate. If you're single, you want to be married. If you rent, you want to buy a home. If you're married, you want to have children. If you're in a good job, you want a promotion, etc. Like, there's so many
all
things.
of the things combined.
Yes, all the things.
At the same time.
Yes. And you know what? God can do it. God can do things suddenly. So amen to that. Like, let's believe bigger for God to have some suddenly moments, and to go exceedingly and abundantly more than we can ask, think, or imagine. I pray that over everybody listening to this. But I also want everyone to remember that there's joy in the midst of the journey. Challenge yourself to get excited about the day-to-day, the small wins, the repetitive, often peaceful, mundane activities, those transitional in-between moments that maybe seem insignificant on the surface, but are often where God shows up and shows out in our lives, and where suddenly everything can change. And you know, I was reflecting recently, after seeing a beautiful tattoo from this waitress. Her name was Kendra. I was at this restaurant in Canton. Yeah, and she was serving brunch, and she had this beautiful tattoo. I like noticed it of a cherry blossom, and I've always been captivated by cherry blossoms. I think you remember when we were in DC, and I was like, "Can we stay and see the cherry blossoms?" And everyone's like, "Simone, we need to drive. We need to go. Like,
we gotta get out of here.
We gotta get out of here." But fair. But I've always found them very captivating, and like from speaking to her and doing a little research, I found out that cherry blossoms symbolize spring, or a season of new beginnings and rebirth or renewal. So the cherry blossom has a short lifespan. Their blooming is brief and always beautiful time, but it's kind of like a day. And in the grand scheme of things, it's kind of like our lives. They're a reminder of the transient nature of life and the importance of cherishing each moment. And there's like a Japanese phrase. I can't really say, I guess it's like mono no aware. I'm not saying that right, but it's referring to the pathos of things. So an appreciation of the fleeting nature of beauty, a bittersweet awareness that everything in existence is temporary. And I think that, a day is temporary. A moment is very temporary. Pain is temporary. Setbacks are temporary. And even joy can be very temporary. Like you're going through so many different emotions and seasons of life, and these things don't last forever. So I think it's really important that we embrace them, and embrace each new day. So to end out, I would like to pray real quick, just for everyone under the sound of my voice. Father God, thank you for Hannah. Thank you for her willingness to have this conversation with me. Thank you for her friendship and the fact that she's always encouraging me to step boldly into what's next in my life, to do what sets my soul on fire, always offering encouragement. And I just pray that our testimony shared today, our tidbits, our advice, our experiences can just give reassurance, encouragement, and comfort to those who are in the midst of a rebuilding season, who struggle to focus on what's right in front of them, who maybe fixate too much on the past or worry too much about the future. I pray that everyone listening to under the sound of my voice and listening to this podcast has a new renewal in their mind, has a new renewal in their heart towards you and towards like how they view their lives. And I just pray for a strengthening, for an excitement, for an increased optimism of what you can do with the mundane moments in our lives. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. God bless Simone. God bless all the listeners. Semper Incipit.
Thank you. And I want to share that our mission, as believers, is to spread the gospel. So if this episode has touched you in any way, please share it to evangelize or encourage, and subscribe to join the conversation. Thank you for listening, and God bless.